All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of A Conversation with Kely. This is episode 90, whatever at this point. I think 97, 96. I don't fucking know. But we're here to do a couple things today besides covering Survivor. And before we do, though, I'm going to introduce my lovely and beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I just had a very relaxing day being off of work. And yeah, I just kind of chilled today.
And this has been one of the days where you're not working, which is a rarity lately. So,
I know.
Because they've been kind of scheduling you like crazy.
I know, right?
Which is good. Like, we love working, but, like, you know. So, yeah, like I said, we're going to do a couple things today. We are, of course, going to cover the latest episode of Survivor 42. But before we do that, there's some unfinished business that we need to attend to. And we need to just get this burden off of our chest. There's a show that aired after Survivor this year. It's called Beyond the Edge, and we were going to review it weekly. We had every intention of doing so until we discovered the format for this season. And since then, we've just had zero interest in covering the show. We did do a draft kind of beforehand, but then we realized we couldn't really do a draft because of the way the game was structured.
Yeah, we couldn't. So, we were thinking about it, but we couldn't.
Yeah, no, we didn't end up doing one. But I'll give my thoughts in a little bit. But first of all, talk about your expectations going into this show and then your overall thoughts, because we're not going to talk about this very long.
My expectations were that, going into it, were interesting. I did not know how the show was going to go. The only thing that I was excited about was having Lauren and Jody, because I'm a big fan of both of them.
Yeah.
So like that was the only reason I was watching. And then just going into it, I'm like, I don't know how to feel, because like, is it just going to be Celebrity Survivor or but watching it, I'm like, it's literally just like an Edge of Extinction game.
Yeah.
And like really it would have been so much better if it was like Survivor. Like with strategy and voting, it would have been so much more interesting and unique. This is just really boring, kind of. Well, I mean, some of it wasn't boring, but like I like getting to know.
There were like 2 episodes that weren't boring. But I
like getting to know everybody more, like in their personal stories and stuff. I mean, Colton and Ray ruined it for me. I found out something about Ray that is disgusting.
Yeah, Ray is like a fucking
and problematic.
So yeah.
And
then Colton's like a full-on stalker. So
yeah, Colton's just a very toxic person, and he also, like, watching this show, he's just very disingenuous. Like, baby.
What?
Oh, did your connection go out?
No.
Oh, it froze. You froze for a bit.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Colton's just very disingenuous and not very, just not very real. Like, he's just so fake, and he's not the nicest person. I feel like he was just kind of there for the money. Like, he wasn't. I don't even think he was there for the charity. I feel like he was just there for the fame.
Yeah, no, he literally said multiple times, he's like, I'm here because, people have a bad perception of me, and I want to prove them otherwise. It's like, I don't have any better of a perception of Colton than I did going in, which I didn't know much about him going in. I can just say, watching him, I'm not a fan.
And then, I mean, I like the other people. I grew to like Paulina.
Yeah.
I loved Ebony, and like obviously if Lauren and Ebony were on Survivor, I feel like they would be a power duo.
Yes.
And then Jody, I was really impressed with her. Like, she's like the fighter.
Yeah.
And then I liked Craig and I liked Mike. I obviously liked Craig before the show just because like I liked him as a singer and everything. And he's a very nice person, and his story is just very emotional and sad. Mike was an icon, very underrated. And like I did like everyone besides like Ray and Colton. But yeah, the show is just not very interesting. Like the ring the bell thing, there's like no point to it. Like it'd be so much better if it was like a tribal.
Yeah,
there's like only maybe 1 or 2 good episodes, and also the one that we watched in person together, sadly, was Lauren's.
I know. And that was like the only good episode because it actually had like stakes to it.
Yeah.
What would you give this show?
Honestly, like with Colton winning and very boring finale and everything, I'd probably give it a C-.
Yeah, my thoughts on the show are honestly maybe a little less kind than yours. Not saying that yours were that kind, but I was not a fan of this very much at all going in. I will say I was very interested because, it's an original format. I didn't really know how it was going to play out. The second I heard that there's no voting and that there's really no strategy whatsoever, that really lowered my interest in watching the show. I think I literally said to you, I'm like, babe, we literally can't cover this weekly. Like, there's no way. Like, no. There's nothing to talk about. And that proved to be the right decision because to me, this is one of the most aimless shows that I have watched in a long time. The majority of this show, yes, you do have the concept of ringing the bell. Yes, it's mostly like challenges and things like that. To me, what this show feels like is there was a pitch meeting with a bunch of like CBS executives and they said, all right, we have a new show we want to do, but we got to make sure people do not compare it to Survivor because we can't make it too much like Survivor. So they did everything in their power to try to make it its own thing. But the problem is the things that they left in still feel too much like Survivor. The challenges, the teams, like that's very similar to Survivor, very similarly done in terms of challenges. But the challenges themselves are very boring. Like these are not exciting to watch. It's like they're constantly just like putting themselves in like physical danger and things like that. They're way too tailored to like alpha males and things like that. They're not really like equally balanced at all.
Yeah. So, they definitely need more balanced comps.
Yeah, and I mean, literally all of the women come out of this season like getting medevaced, which is like,
I mean,
really problematic.
All the that's really gross, and also like obviously Meta World Peace was the first boot.
Yeah, I was not shocked that Meta World Peace rang the bell.
Me neither.
I think,
but I love him.
Oh, I love Meta World Peace, but I also think that they needed to do a better job with this cast because I don't think they knew what they were getting themselves into. I think they needed to let them know this is going to be very physical and things like that. And for a while, like some of them were doing really well. Like Lauren really surprised me with how well she was doing. Like I think if she didn't have that unfortunate foot injury, I think that she could have really possibly made it to the end. I think she really could have. Because she was doing amazing. And then Ebony I was starting to like a lot, but then she had the whole thing with like her teeth and that got really bad. Then Paulina, I think what was it, like a hip fracture or something like that. And then she ended up ringing the bell. And then Jody was about to make the finale, and then she had like a double ear infection and things like that. So like again, you are putting people in like serious danger, and it's just like not fun to watch seeing that happen. Like if it happened only once, that would be a different story. Literally every single woman on this cast ends up getting medevaced. And like, to me, that I just hated that. Yeah, that was something that I just did not enjoy watching at all because it very much felt like the problem is not the problem is not anything that they did wrong. It's the challenges themselves, the way it's set up. It's tailored to a specific type of person, someone who's an alpha male, someone who is like very physical in that way. And some people just can't withstand it. And I think they needed to make it a lot more balanced in that way. Like I liked, for example, the penultimate episode when it was more of like a trivia comp. I wish it was a lot less like physically dominating because that just, again, wasn't exciting to watch. So again, challenges themselves I was not a big fan of, but what really brings this show down for me is just the utter lack of anything. There's no story here, really. There's no arc. You do have these people like talking about their personal lives, but for me, when there's no strategy, when there's no when there's no voting and things like that, there just isn't a lot for me to latch onto here. I don't really feel like we were given enough of a chance to like see the personalities of these people. I feel like the majority of them, I was like, oh yeah, this person's still here. This person's still here. Like there's really only a few people besides the girls. All of them I ended up liking by the end. That I really can say like I generally enjoyed. Like Mike Singletary, I thought was a great presence. He was very fun to watch. I enjoyed how positive he was. Like he was someone I really did enjoy throughout the season. I liked Meta for like the brief time that we got him, but like he rang the bell.
I also see like if this was also Survivor, I see Meta and Jody being a duo because they were close in that episode.
I could definitely.
It would be like Lauren and Ebony, Jody and Meta.
And that's the thing, like the fact that we're talking about what would happen if this was Survivor, that shows you how badly put together this show is, because still watching it, even though they desperately are trying to like make it its own thing, still feels like Survivor. And I think that's the real issue with the show, is that they did not make it distinct enough. They did not make it interesting enough for us to not just compare it to Survivor and talk about how much better it would be if it was Survivor. So
Does anyone want to ring the bell?
Yeah, that whole thing is so stupid. It felt like, and I hated, like, it literally got to a point where, and here's the thing, like, yeah, we have people ring the bell, but there are episodes that go by where, like, nobody's ringing the bell and we're with the same group of people. It's like, where's the intrigue? Like, what is there to get excited about, you know?
Yeah, literally nothing.
And am I really going to get excited over if someone is going to quit the game or not? Like, that's just not a very well put together format. Mauro Ronaldo also, I thought, was a very lackluster host. He's trying for sure, but he just did not do it for me at all. I found him just very forceful, and it felt like he himself was like bored at points. Like he was really trying to like make it exciting.
He was probably like, in a way, he was probably just there because he's like got paid for it.
Yeah, definitely. I was not a big fan of his hosting at all. And then we get to the finale, and the way the finale structured, I just really fucking hate. Like, it's what I really don't like about it is you have 4 people making the finale, but only the top 2 people can actually win the game. It's like, what is the point of having Craig and Mike if it's just going to be, oh, well, you're going to help out Cole and you're going to help out Ray, and then you'll get some money to your charity. It's just like, I just don't really think that's like fair. It's like all of them had made it this much farther. What is it about Colton and Ray that's like that much more special? I get it that they were at the top of the leaderboard.
They are not special.
They needed to do something different with the finale where it was just a little bit more fair, because I just felt like by the time it ended, it's like, how can you say that Ray is the runner-up? No, Mike Singletary is the runner-up, and he should be considered as the runner-up because he helped out Colton with that challenge. Colton would not have won that challenge if it wasn't for him. So I just feel like either both of them should have won, or I don't know. I did not like the way that finale was handled at all. There's a lot of things this season I just wasn't a big fan of. I think if they are to ever bring the show back, which to be honest with you, I think is very unlikely. I have not talked to a single person aside from Mike, who, you know, we have on the circle regularly, who has actually watched the show, who's actually taken the time to go through this entire season. I've not talked to a single person. Everyone I've talked to said, how the hell did you guys get through this season? And the answer is because we're fucking crazy. That's why.
I mean, there's only 10 episodes. We're like, fuck it.
Yes, but this show was just pure background noise for me at points. I did not care about what was going on. I very much tuned out of a lot of things that were happening. There was only one. Also,
another thing, we kind of just watched it before we went to bed.
Yeah, it very much became one of those kind of shows as well. And I think just in general, it just wasn't very exciting. There was really only one episode, the one where coincidentally Lauren ends up leaving, for me that I really enjoyed. And the reason I enjoy is because it felt like people are starting to put a bit more strategy into picking the teams. You know, we really see Lauren like trying to stick it out. I felt like there was actually like some kind of momentum there, but that momentum got lost very quick. And I just didn't really feel like there was really a lot going on here. The pilot is one of the worst pilots I've seen in a very long time. It's edited so badly with the way it was constructed. Yeah, just in general, I really did not like this show at all. It's easily one of the worst attempts at trying to make something original, but doing such a terrible job at it that you just can't help but compare it to the show that it's desperately trying to avoid being compared to. I think that's the best way to sum up the show overall. So for me, D+ for Beyond the Edge. I don't really want to talk about this all that much more. Stop casting Colton Underwood and things. Stop casting Ray Lewis and things. These are not good people.
Stop giving them a platform.
Yeah, don't give them a platform. These are not good people. We don't want to see that happen. If they were to ever do this again, there needs to be major restructuring.
Yeah, literally, if they please just make it Survivor if they're gonna redo it.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, not exciting at all. Not much more to talk about when it comes to Beyond the Edge. So we're gonna move on and talk about something we actually want to talk about. Let's talk about this episode of Survivor, because this
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Maybe I'll get some water. I'll be right back.
Okay. Lovely.
You can talk to our lovely viewers, even though we're not filming, even though we're not doing this live.
Well, when they watch when it premieres. Everyone is amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. And just thank you so much for supporting us. And it just means a lot to us, you know? Like, we just have so much fun doing this podcast, and we wouldn't change it for the world. And, like, we just love it so much. And it's been wonderful having a podcast for the past, like, year or so. And we're going to continue to have this podcast for as long as we can. Also, stay hydrated. Very important. Hygiene and hydration. Important. Please, gun control now. Literally. This is like insane that all this shit is still happening. Please, gun control. We need change. Like, what the fuck? Like, it breaks my heart.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I don't know what you were discussing, but
It's important stuff and all.
oh yes. All right. Get to this episode. Yeah, for me, this was another really great episode of Survivor 42. This season just continues to deliver the goods, to be honest. Like this. Oh, yeah. I know I've only watched 2 seasons, but like I get the hype. I get the hype for sure. This has been an amazing season, and I think this was
Survivor's so good.
Yeah. I think this was another really strong episode overall. So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. So we see Lindsay is very overjoyed to have stayed, and she now has a full-on immunity idol as a result of Drea leaving. She plans on using it tomorrow since it's only eligible until Final 6. And yeah, I mean, Lindsay's in an interesting position, I think, in this game. I hear some people say that she's going to win. I just don't see it. Like, I don't see Lindsay winning. I see her coming up short.
I feel like she has a shot, but like, especially with all these immunities she's winning, I don't know.
I just don't see her making this finale. I think they're going to see her as a threat.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. But Omar feels that this night has worked out perfectly for him, and his relationship with Mike is right where he wants it because he views him as his savior in the game, including saving his idol and actually giving it back to him, which I know a lot of people thought Omar was just going to like hang on to it, but I think it makes sense because he needs Mike to think that like he's his number one and he's never going to turn on him. So I think it makes sense from Omar's perspective to do that. But basically, his next move is to pull Mike and Jonathan apart and make them distrust each other. So that way he can then pick a side and take one of them out. And again, Omar is just a king. Like the way he thinks about the game. Good. Love his strategy. But
he's incredible.
Even though this was not his episode, this was not the episode for Omar, unfortunately.
We'll talk
about that.
I will say Canadians on Survivor are amazing.
Yes, even if they don't work together. So Mike is very happy that the Drea move worked out, but at the end of the day, people want to get to the end, and he senses that Omar is afraid of him at the final because he's too likable, and he knows he needs to do what comes naturally and cut Omar loose. Again, Mike, I do think he has potential to win this game, but he's so fucking delusional right now with the way that he's playing. I get it that he needs Omar out of the game, but I actually don't think Omar going is good for Mike's game just because of like what Omar's like doing right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say there.
Well, because he can easily frame it in the sense where it's like Jonathan's a big threat and Omar wants Jonathan out. Omar can target Jonathan. And you could say the same for Jonathan, but I just feel like with the way Omar's playing, Mike doesn't know how much Omar is targeting him right now. So I think from his perspective, like it's good to keep Mike in the game or keep Omar in the game. Mike wants to keep himself in the game, obviously. So it makes sense to keep Mike in the game, but to keep Omar in the game is what I'm trying to say. I think it would make more sense, but he starts by really trying to push to Maryanne that Omar has been working against her the entire time. And this actually seems to work really well because she expresses how she sees his game and doesn't see how she would beat him in the end. And tonight, the jury saw Omar evolve from a caterpillar to a butterfly, especially with him now being seen as the reason that Drea is gone, which is correct.
Very
So with
true.
her extra vote, she plans to use it in order to make a move against Omar to win the game. And this was great to see because, as you guys know, we've been Team Maryanne pretty much all season. She is our sole draft pick at this point, so we've really been banking on
I'm
her
just gonna
winning.
say too that she's like really matured during this game.
She has. She started off as someone who was just like, and you know, we loved her for it. She was like really loud, very rambunctious in that way.
Yeah,
very much just
bubbly.
like, you know, trying to be just like fun and social. But I think we really saw this like strategic side of her in this episode. And I think she pulled it out at the right time because I kept saying that. I kept saying like Maryanne has been downplaying her game so well. Nobody really sees her as a threat right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew at some point she was going to like make that move. And I'm just glad that like she finally did it because I think that's exactly what she needed to do.
She has a huge resume.
Yeah, she really does. Because again, people don't know like everything else she's done. So she talks to Omar and brings up to him how paranoid Jonathan is and that no matter what happens, he can't win the next immunity. So Lindsay sees him as her main nemesis, as Jonathan as her main nemesis, especially with him winning so many challenges. So she really wants him out at this point. And Mike talks to Jonathan and tells him the plan and that Maryanne keeping her mouth shut is contingent on this working out, which she's going to do because she also wants Omar out at this point. Yeah. So we get this great moment where Omar almost hears the plan. And I literally thought he was going to, like the way it was edited, it looked like he was like split second from like overhearing what they're going to do. Doesn't happen. It would have been spicy if he did, but that's not what happened. But Jonathan says he doesn't trust him or Lindsay anymore and that they both think he doesn't see it. But it's obvious that they are working together very clearly. And he doesn't want anyone to see that he's upset last night that Omar made a move that made him the top contender to win. And for Lindsay to see that he's mad that she stayed, and if he's going to win, he needs both of them out. And while Taku has stayed loyal, he feels it's time for them to break up. I literally forgot that, like, the Taku 4 is still here, which is really funny.
That's
like,
true.
That's not what you would have expected. Low-key put gone the other tribes. Like, it's mostly Taku that's here, which is impressive considering there are only 4
Like, good on them.
Yeah. I just wish that all 4 of them were likable. It sucks. It sucks that there's only 3 Takus left in the game, but they did it. No, we just don't talk about that 4th one.
Well, last week I forgot Jonathan was in the game.
I mean, we should keep it that way because I wish he wasn't, but you know.
They then do a bit of a reward challenge. They will either be playing for sustenance, which is grilled chicken and veggies, or decadence, which is chocolate cake and cookies.
They did this last season. I remember everyone was like really pissed because they thought they were going to get like the loved ones and that didn't happen. But I think this season they just assumed they weren't going to get it. So like there wasn't much of an outcry there.
Yeah.
Also, exactly. They technically did get it like that other episode. So good on Survivor for fixing that because it seemed like people were like really pissed in 41 about that.
I remember that. For this challenge, everyone will spin to unspool a coil of rope and then make their way to a series of obstacles until they unlock a key. They will then use that to unlock puzzle pieces that will solve a block puzzle, and first to finish will win.
Yes.
Obviously, a typical puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big Survivor thing.
Yeah.
Omar wins this challenge, and Jeff tells him for sustenance, it'll involve 1 more person, while decadence includes 3.
I liked this adjustment. I thought this was another thing. And this is something I've liked that they've been doing this season is that they've taken twists last season and kind of changed them up a bit, even if some things like do or die, for example, are just never going to work. I like that they've been like changing things a little bit. So I like that this one, they added a bit more stakes to it. So it's really like, oh shit, what do I want to do? Because it's like Xander literally picked sustenance last time because he was just craving chicken and veggies. Like that's his favorite food and he wanted to eat it. This time around, there's a lot more thought put into it. So
I like this a lot. And it was like important too.
Yeah, for sure.
He chooses desserts and chooses Maryanne, Romeo, and Mike to join him, which I really like that.
Yes. Yeah, me too. I thought it made sense for that, especially with like them not eating and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
So
everyone then indulges in some tasty treats. And I'm just going to say, love Romeo, but he gives like nothing.
He really doesn't.
It's like, go girls, give us nothing.
Yeah, no, literally. I keep forgetting he's the one I keep forgetting is there.
He's just kind of there, but like Jonathan, I forget he's also there.
Well, Jonathan we forget for other reasons, but Romeo literally is like has no shot, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
He was doing so well. Like I don't know what happened.
Literally, he just got purpled all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Omar talks about how at this point Mike and Jonathan are huge targets that he wants out, and leaving him out was doing strategically to make him feel deprived so he can beat him.
Yes.
Jonathan and Lindsay bullshit about the vote to each other to make each other feel comfortable, and he tells Lindsay he wants to target Mike.
I love how like they both could tell like, yeah, we're not being serious to each other. Like they weren't putting stock into anything that the other one was saying.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Lindsay is worried that if Jonathan wins immunity, Mike will be targeted next.
Yes.
Lindsay pulls Mike aside and lets him know if Jonathan loses immunity, he is safe and
And he doesn't, yeah.
Sorry, I was fixing your typo there. Lindsay pulls Mike aside and lets him know that if Jonathan loses immunity, he is safe and that he doesn't buy into it, thinking that Omar is gunning for him, and she tells him he is the next biggest threat. And she will let him know if he needs to use his idol tomorrow, and she lets him know about her idol.
I don't know if this was like a great move on Lindsay's part. I feel like this late in the game, it's like, I feel like this is something she could have just like kept to herself, because I don't think Lindsay's name would have been out there at all. So I don't know if she really needed to like tell Mike all this information. I do like how Lindsay is like on a completely different trajectory from everyone else in terms of this vote. Like even later on, like she's still adamant about Jonathan's got to go. So I did like seeing that. It made it I think a bit more exciting.
Oh, I agree.
So.
Mike immediately then goes to Jonathan and Maryanne and tells both of them about Lindsay's idol.
Yes. Which again, like really underscored the fact that this was a really bad move for Lindsay, because Mike literally just like tells fucking everyone about it.
Yeah, he just like spilled the tea.
Yeah.
So like, girl, why did you tell him?
Yeah.
He needs everyone to win except for Lindsay, thinking that she would give her idol to Omar so they would both be safe.
I don't know where he got this idea that like these two are like buddy with each other, because like I don't feel like they have made any sort of indication of that. Like Mike's reads are just not good at this point, like flat out.
Yeah, I mean I love him and he has a shot to win, but like his reads are kind of iffy.
Yeah, that's definitely like if he doesn't win the game, I think that's gonna be the thing that like hurts him. I don't think he's had very good reads at all.
No,
I think he did for a while, and then they just like I don't know what happened, but like he has been so off base lately.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Yeah. Same with Romeo.
Yes.
Maryanne, hearing about what Mike wants to do, knows she has an idol and is centrally double safe, and they need to take out Omar as soon as the next vote.
Yes.
And after hearing about Lindsay's idol, she is sad to see she was left of this information, thinking they were close, and instead sees herself as a sacrificial, so she needs to make this move happen as a way to prove she's a big contender in this game of sacrificial lamb. So she needs to make this move happen as a way to prove she's a big contender in this game and not be a goat to be herded.
And I'm just here like fucking speak your truth, Maryanne. Like make that fucking move. I'm here for it. Like this to me felt like a winner Reddit. And I know we've been saying that. Like I know pre-jury people are like, oh, if Maryanne wins is like the most obvious winner Reddit. I don't fucking care. Like this was such a great moment, and like I think this is definitely gonna be the thing that she should talk about at the end.
Oh, I think so too. She has a lot to say.
Yeah, she does. She really does.
Yeah, like she's gonna prove to people.
And she definitely, like, I don't think in any way has been like a goat in this game. I think she's definitely had her own mind. I think a lot of people just believe that she's a weaker threat because she's been constantly downplaying her game, which I think has helped her.
Yeah, I think so too, honestly.
Kind of similar to like Kevin and BB Can, where like people didn't see him as a big of a threat because he was like not, you know, he was not being very vocal about like what he was doing. Maryanne's low key been doing the same thing. Maybe not quite as dominant, very different kind of game, but still like fucking killed this game. And this was such a great move for her.
Yeah, like she really like knows what to do, knows what to say.
Oh,
and I cannot wait to like see her I mean, hopefully she makes it to the end. So hopefully.
I'd be very shocked if she doesn't at this point. Because, like, my thing is, like, if she doesn't make it to the end, who does? Like, fucking Jonathan, fucking Romeo. Like,
we're not winning.
No.
All right, it's time for the next immunity challenge, and everyone will race over a series of obstacles and across a bridge, and then find a series of steps. They will then build a staircase and use that to climb a very tall tower, and then we'll find balls to help complete a table maze. After a very intense and close challenge, Lindsay does win immunity and has secured her spot in the final 5.
And it was great to, like, finally see, like, the ongoing saga of, like, Lindsay versus Jonathan finally come to an end with, like, Lindsay beating him. Like, that was so great to see because she's gotten close so many times. But
it's such an interesting arc.
Yeah, especially because they were working together at one point.
Yeah.
You know, Jonathan had to be all misogynistic, and you know, now very much she's very much against him now, which is very much his fault. But yeah, I mean, I think to me, like, Lindsay's definitely like a big threat heading into Final 5. So I just don't see her making it to the end, like, plain and simple. Like, that's my thing, is like, I've heard people say that like she could win the game. I just don't see her making it. Like, I think she's probably the next out. So
I feel like if she doesn't win immunity, she could be out.
Yeah, I think so. So Lindsay's very excited to have won and finally beat Jonathan. Jonathan says that him and Mike are two of the biggest threats, and he says that they'll be voting for Romeo, which this was a really weird move. I don't understand why. I don't understand Jonathan's obsession with, like, Romeo in this game, where it's like, oh, we can't let Romeo get farther. We're all better than Romeo. Like, I just don't really like that logic. I feel like it's Final 6. You need to make a bigger move than this. And I don't think Jonathan was really taking stock of that. But Jonathan doesn't know how to play the game strategically beyond winning competitions. So
he's literally an awful player besides comp.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised that Jonathan didn't know what to do here. But Omar is very happy to see that the plan seems set for Mike and Jonathan gunning for each other, which is very much what he wanted. And Lindsay tells Omar that she, Mike, and Maryanne will all be voting for Jonathan. But if things get crazy, she does have her idol, but doesn't want to play it since that person usually goes home right after. And she feels if Jonathan goes here, her and Omar have an easy path to Final 4 and will make it to the end. Do you think she should have played it here?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think she made the right call in not playing her idol. Because I think if she did, she probably would go. She would definitely. I mean, I think she's going next round, but I think she would definitely go next round if she did. So Maryanne, however, is still feeling Omar can win the whole thing. And despite feeling rejected, she wants to prove that she can win. And she can either go with the way Lindsay and Omar want the vote to go, or do what she wants. And Maryanne does decide to tell Mike the plan would be to tell Jonathan to vote Omar. And he doesn't see it happening since he's voting for Romeo with him. And if she throws 2 votes, they can get him out. He doesn't plan on using Zaheer either, so he can ensure he gets to 4 tomorrow. And he feels that Lindsay will give Omar the immunity idol, which he can then put votes on Romeo and get him out easily. But Maryanne's trying to play a more advanced game of Survivor and put his game in her hands. And I like how Mike knows that Maryanne is, like, doing this, but yet still doesn't want to go for her. Like, her fucking mist. I love it. I love Maryanne's mist here.
It's so good.
Yeah. And I feel like Maryanne's move just makes a lot more sense. Like, why go for someone like Romeo who you can get at any time? Like, this is the chance to go for Omar. Like, make that move. Yeah. Especially like this late in the game. So she says he's playing it too safe.
Omar is also one of the biggest threats to win, so you have to go for him.
Yeah, definitely. So she says that he's playing it too safe, but her extra vote can still do a lot, especially with how much fire people are feeling. So she talks to Romeo and tells him about her extra vote, which has to be used by this tribal. And she tries to get Mike and Jonathan to vote that way, but Jonathan isn't confident that he's going to vote with them. And they feel that Omar they can take out tomorrow night. But Maryanne is tired of feeling underestimated, and she wants to make that move to get her to the end, which again, we love her for. So it's time for the tribal council.
We stand.
Yes. Mike then talks to Jeff about how this point in the game is advanced calculus, and there's only a select few people you can trust. And I will let you guys know in advance, I did not write nearly as much about the questions as you did last time. Because I didn't want to have to read all of that. So Romeo and Lindsay talk about how much the game is shifting. Omar feels, however, everyone has been playing a long-term game and everyone has had their people in mind to get to the end, which I thought was an interesting little like contrast there. So Maryanne feels the shift depends on where your position is on the tribe, and those on the bottom have to focus on self-preservation, then can think about the end game, which I feel like that's pretty much right. Lindsay then feels confident in her vote as long as others end up voting with her. Omar is survivor confident at this point, what could happen tonight, but he knows he could be on the receiving end of a blindside with no idols or advantages to play in his favor. And it's almost like a foregone conclusion with what ends up happening, because Omar was so confident nothing bad was gonna come his way. But the vote does go down, and we get such a good move here where it's a 3-1 vote on Omar, ultimately going home, with him sensing that Maryanne actually did play those 2 votes on him. And you can see he's very impressed by this, which I really like seeing that moment where he's like, was it you?
This is really good jury management for her.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of this cast has had pretty good jury management, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's really just like Jonathan and maybe Mike who have.
I mean, obviously Tori, nobody liked her.
Yeah, definitely. But
Tori, Rocksroy hated her.
Tori never had a chance. Like, so that's why I'm not like mentioning her, because I don't think Tori had a chance at all. And when she was gonna stop winning immunities, like she was going. Like that's how it was gonna go. So remember when we were worried she was gonna like win out? I'm glad that didn't happen. I don't want to see that timeline. I'm very happy that wasn't the case.
Same. She's just so unlikable.
Jeff tells them they made it to the finals and will be starting over at a new camp, which, of course, we know how that does go because we saw the finale last year. Omar talks about how bad Maryanne got him, and he knew that playing with her was like playing with fire, and he should have gone with his gut, but he was survivor confident, and that's the worst thing he could have been. But he stole the blast, and those are the best experience of his life. And I know I've said it so many times, but I fucking loved Omar in this game. I feel like you need a great villain, in any strategy game. And Omar was that. Omar was that villain that we needed. We didn't get to see a lot of what he was doing pre-jury because they were like Taku was immune most of the time. But once he got to jury, he turned it on, and he became, I think, one of the highlights of this entire season. I was very confident at one point that Omar was going to win the game. So I'm just very impressed by what he was able to do. He had so many people in his pocket, and he very much did what he needed to do. I think he only came up short because he just got a little cocky towards the end and thought everything was going to go his way, which you just can't do that this late in the game. Maryanne, in contrast, knew that she was in a position where people were kind of seeing her as like a goat, and she didn't want to do that. And so she, decided that this is where she was going to make a move. Not saying that one is better than the other. I just think that's ultimately what ended up hurting Omar in the game, is that you have someone like Maryanne who hasn't been making who has been playing very low key intentionally, has been trying to, downplay her game as much as she can, and then comes in wanting to make this big move. And I feel like now
Maryanne has this fire in her, so that she's like really like proving her game even more in the end, because it's almost there.
At this point, like she's won. Like I feel like she's won the game at this point. Like this has to be the move that wins her the game. And here's the thing, like I could be wrong, but at this point it was like I was super confident that Erica was going to win last season. I'm even more confident that Maryanne's going to win 42 just because of the way things have been going. I feel like, it's been an obvious edit, but it's been a good edit, and I'm here for her to win because I think she's played a fantastic game, and I'd love to see her end up getting the win. If it's not Maryanne, I think it's going to be Mike. I feel like it's probably going to be.
I could see that. Like Maryanne definitely has a good chance. Yeah, I could see Mike. Just he has to really like own his moves.
I just don't see, like I said, my view of things is Jonathan and Romeo have zero chance. There's no way the jury's going to vote for either of them because they've been seeing the way they've been playing the game. Romeo's been way too passive, and Jonathan just has not done anything good social or strategically. And then I feel like, Lindsay just isn't going to make it. I think Lindsay's probably going to go like the next round if she doesn't win immunity. So yeah, I think that's.
I mean, I think Lindsay has a chance, but like, I don't know. I feel like
she's going next.
She's either going next or she could make it to the end. I don't know.
I could see her also losing fire making. I could see that too.
I can see that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, as of right now, I feel like Maryanne is probably the guaranteed winner. Now, before we wrap things up, there is one thing I do want to address because it came up and I think it's important to talk about. So Jeff Probst was doing this interview with Entertainment Weekly, and they talked about the format of the game the past 2 seasons, and they brought up the whole, doing the after show on the island, and Jeff basically said, like, he really likes this idea. It's a lot more raw. People are still thinking about the game. And it seems like that's something that is here to stay. And I'm very much not for that.
No, me neither.
I just feel like my thing is just, yes, they're still thinking about the game, but their mental states is not going to be as like fresh. Like, yeah, their mental state's very fresh, but like when you win a game coming from someone who's won a game, I'm sure you can agree because you've also won. When you do win a game, like you don't process that until like hours later. Like right when you win, you're still kind of in like a state of shock. And then when you lose a game, it's the same way. It's it takes a while to process everything that happened. So I feel like, having the finale happen on the island, it just does a disservice to the whole purpose of a reunion. So I just don't really like that whole idea. I get why Jeff wants to do it. I just don't think it's like what's best for Survivor. I would much rather them do what they were doing, where it's like, take a couple months off. They now, their opinion on the game is a little bit different now, but it's probably a lot more, fresher in their mind and things like that, because of them being able to watch the season. I just would much rather prefer that. So what are your thoughts on that being a mainstay?
Yeah, I agree with you on this.
Yeah. And then he also said that like the smaller tribes and like no food and things like that also is here to stay because he wants that to be like part of the new era. And here's my thing with that. Yes, has it been exciting to watch? Sure. But I feel like it worked because it was 2 seasons. Like I was of the opinion that this was only going to happen for 2 seasons and then they were going to abandon it. And it seems like this is something that like Jeff wants to continue to have on the show. Same with Shots in the Dark and stuff like that. I just feel like the players are going to now game this a lot better, and it's just not going to be as interesting to watch because now they know what to expect going in. Whereas I feel like it would make a lot more sense to not do that because they'd expect it, and then suddenly we're eating again. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of continuing a lot of these things. I feel like the majority of them have not been successful. Like, to be honest, yeah, you've had a more accelerated game, but we wouldn't know that if Jeff hadn't been so adamant about it. Like, you don't really feel that accelerated gameplay because it's the same amount of episodes and things like that. So it's smaller tribes. I'm not a big fan of either because I feel like pre-jury, it's very predictable with who ends up going. Maybe not as much this season, but 41, that was a big problem for me. So yeah, I just feel like in general, these things that are mainstays, I don't think should be mainstays. I think they work with a couple seasons, but after a while, it's just going to wear thin. So I'm not a big fan of any of that.
Yeah, no, me neither. Like, some things I'm fine with having, but not everything. Like continuous. Because we definitely want things to go back to old Survivor too,
Yeah, definitely. It's like, and I know people weren't fans of like The Edge and things like that, and that's why they're not doing it anymore. So I hope enough people like get behind this and be like, we don't want this. So like maybe they'll do it for 43, but then 44, it's gone. Like that's my hope. I want to see that. Like I feel like 43, it's like probably already set in stone because I'm pretty sure they're probably going to film 43 in like a couple months. Considering we already have like a rumored cast. So yeah, I just wanted to like talk about that a little bit because I saw that and I was like, I don't know about this. You guys know Shots in the Dark, I have not been a fan of at all. I think it's such a stupid twist. It adds absolutely nothing. Nobody's played it correctly. And sure, maybe now people will be inclined to play it better. I just don't really like the idea of it. I don't think it's added much of anything. And I think it's just been another like kind of useless advantage, which a lot of these have been. So yeah, moving forward, I want regular Survivor. Like, I think the best moments of this season for me have been when it's just people playing Survivor, like this move with Omar, for example.
Honestly, it would be cool if there's like no idols or no powers or anything, just like regular, straightforward Survivor.
I mean, I want to see idols still.
I mean, same. But I think it'd be cool to have just like an OG kind of thing too.
Yeah, I just don't want to see like knowledge is power come back. I don't want to see do or die come back. I don't want to see shots in the dark come back. Like that's just not stuff I enjoy watching.
Well, not to do or die.
Yeah, I just think most of it's just like a detriment to the game. So yeah, but anyway, we talked about that, but that's it for this video. We did a lot in this video, Allie. We talked about Survivor 42, and we also talked about Beyond the Edge. Which if anyone watched that, you know, I'm sorry that you had to get through that because it was a very, very tough watch for me, at least. It was very hard to stay invested, but yeah.
I mean, it was a tough watch for me too.
Definitely. Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Just like stay tuned for tomorrow for well, I think we might be covering the circle finale tomorrow.
Probably.
And obviously
we're gonna watch it when it goes up.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it probably when it goes up, and then the podcast sometime tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be covering the finale live, which is gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get as many people on as we can as well. So
hopefully we can. If not, not a big deal, but we'll try.
Either Allie and I are winning the draft, or Seven Grace are winning, because I think they're the only. I think Tofen's out. But yeah, other than that, this has been a fantastic season. I'm very excited to see how everything does wrap up. Oh, one more announcement in case you didn't see it on the Circle. We, after the Survivor podcasts and the Circle, we will be having a bit of a rebrand. So, you know, we decided that, you know, we really enjoy doing this podcast and things like that, but it's done on my channel. I don't feel like it has as much of an identity as it should. So I feel like what we're going to do is we're going to take one of my old channels and basically just turn it into a hub for a conversation with Kely. We're going to do it, I think, every single Monday.
Yeah, we're gonna do like Mondays around 8 Eastern, unless we're doing things live or if we're like working.
Yeah, starting next week, that's where our podcast will be. And I think this is a good idea. I think it's a good way to give us a bit more of like an identity and things like that. I think it's also going to give us a bit more consistency. So
and also like obviously during off seasons of reality shows, we'll just discuss like different things.
Yeah, definitely. So we're very excited about that. That's going to start next week for sure. So definitely look forward to that. But other than that, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you guys in our next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.